good to be with you today. I'm Jackie from BBC Eaglehawk, and I'd love to share a reflection with you today. I've been having some thoughts lately about my encounters with Jesus, and particularly my initial encounter, but also those day-to-day encounters and the encounters that I've had going forward, where Jesus has really spoken into my life for the deeper things of God. And I've been thinking a lot about the story of the woman at the well, found in John chapter 4. I just love this story. It's got a lot of richness to it, and there's a lot of elements to the story. But there's some particular things I'd like to pick up on today. This story took place in Samaria, in a little place called Sychar. And this woman was at the well in the middle of the day, when most people came to the well either at the beginning of the day or the end of the day to draw water. But she comes in the middle of the day and she encounters Jesus there, who's come asking for her drink. Now, the story goes on where he offers her living water, etc. And that is and that's the main gist of the story. But I'd like to talk today a little bit about something else that was happening in that story, and that is about how she found out that Jesus knew a lot about her that he couldn't have possibly known. And even the encounter itself is a little bit different, because a Jewish man and a Samaritan woman just didn't speak together. They weren't usually, it wasn't culturally acceptable for lots of reasons, both for reasons of being Samaritan and Jew and man and woman. So it was very unusual. But he was able to tell her things about herself, and he said to her that you've had 5 husbands and the one you're living with now isn't your husband. And she was amazed by that story. So once she'd done what she needed to do with her water, she went back into her village at Sychar and she shared her testimony with the people that were there. Now, many from Sychar believed that day, and it was confirmed later when they spoke to Jesus himself. But when you think about how she had come to draw water in the middle of the day, that was probably because she wasn't accepted in her village. They probably didn't talk to her very much. And yet here she is, she marches right back in. She shares a story about how she's met with Jesus, and she shares the testimony of what happened. It's also probably something else to consider, is that she's telling a story again about meeting a man and a Jewish man, and they might have thought, well, here's this woman doing the same things. She's talking with men that she shouldn't be talking with. You don't know what was going on in the people's minds. But the fact that she was sharing her testimony was absolutely something else, because she felt confident to do it for a start. And then the people accepted it. That can only be the supernatural power of God at work in the life of her and those people that she was sharing her testimony with. I think this story has got many blessings through it, but this one is just amazing. God can use any person in any situation. This got me to thinking about my own story and how well I share my own story. Maybe I don't do it enough. But we need to share our story of our encounters with Jesus. We need to help people to hear that story. Our church has a focus on discipleship. One of the greatest things we can do to disciple others is to share our story with them, to journey with them with our stories, to tell them about what's happened to us through our lives. We can tell them the story of our first encounter. We can tell them the story of our daily encounters. We can share the stories of how Jesus has spoken to us on very deep levels in our lives and totally transformed us. It's very powerful stuff, and God will use it to his glory. So I'd like to encourage you, as part of our disciple focus for this church, is to share your story, share your testimony, and let the supernatural power of God do its work to his glory. God bless you each.